Welcome back to the Soul Collective podcast. My guest today is Rakai'el Webb, who is a Lemurian priestess, sound alchemist, astrologer, and the founder of Soul Star Medicine. Rakai'el, thank you so much for being here with us. Welcome to the Soul Collective podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Emily. It's such a gift to be able to be here with you and with everyone who's listening. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I have so many things that I want to ask you about. And I just want to start, you're up to so many interesting things in the world. And I want to talk about the multidimensionality that you bring to your business and to life. But maybe if you could share a little bit about who you are and what you're up to in the world.
Awesome. Thank you. So I'm living in Maui, and I was called here almost 5 years ago now. Really just it felt like a past life calling to return to this land. And it was undeniable. And Hawaii was really never something that was on my radar, so it was surprising when it came up, but it was absolutely undeniable. And so since being here, I feel like it's just the energy of being here for me personally too. It's also really connected to my astrology with my moon placement, and my soul purpose is all aligned here. And I knew that after I decided to move, but being here has activated within me ancient Lemurian memories coming forth. And so that has brought me to a place of using my voice to sing and being a sound healer. So I work with all kinds of instruments, or mostly like crystalline, so like crystal singing bowls, a crystal lyre, which is like a harp, and crystal pyramid, and but many other beautiful instruments. And I also do astrology, so which is something that I've been studying since I was a teenager, and then that got reactivated while I was living in San Francisco, but then really coming here also like brought that more into the forefront. So yeah, and I also do free diving, and yeah, just really, I feel like my life purpose is, and I've said this since I started my business, and since I knew that I like had change to create in the world, is to just be a living example for others that there is a different way of living and a different way of working and a different way of serving that can be sustainable and supportive and nourishing and very magical.
Yes, I love that. I'm so excited to really dive into all of those things. And what I love about astrology is that it really, to me, is like a map of our soul's intention and what we came into this lifetime to do. And I know that you're using astrology in some really cool ways. So just curious, like how that plays out in your birth chart. Maybe if you could share like some of your key placements and, how that leads to what you're doing in the world.
Fun. What a great question. Thank you. My Leo moon is like, so I'm a Sagittarius rising. And so I think that attributes to my loquaciousness and storytelling and teaching, esoteric kind of philosophical, and layering things, right? Like I feel like a Sagittarius energy is really like synthesizing a lot of different energies or ideas and philosophies and concepts and everything. And I think what's significant too for me is that my rising sign is in the sign of Sagittarius. It's also conjunct the galactic center. And so that And my Mercury is also, all of that is all, my Mercury is there with my ascendant and the galactic center. So that is just really being this like communicator and like messenger of information coming from like a really cosmic frequency.
Explain the galactic center for us.
Totally. Yeah. So in the center of the Milky Way galaxy, there is a supermassive black hole. And that is like what holds our galaxy in its place. And so then like the arms of the Milky Way are kind of like it's a spiral galaxy coming out from that. Um, and I'm like not brushed up on my astrophysics totally, or my astronomy, so I hope I'm explaining all that correctly, but I do know that the galactic center is a supermassive black hole in the center of our galaxy, and it's kind of this, when you look in the sky near the sign of Sagittarius, so if you have one of those like Starfinder apps on your phone and it's the time of year where you can see the constellation of Sagittarius, that's also where you see this like kind of like dusty band of stars and gas and everything, like a collection of, you can see this band in the sky, and that is actually the band of the Milky Way. And that there is a space right there where there's less stars, and that is like the location of the galactic center. And so really it's like that, and it's like, you know, there are all kinds of radio waves and like gamma rays, all kinds of cosmic rays. Are like, a black hole is simultaneously like consuming energy and emitting energy. So it's a very powerful energy source on a astronomical level.
Yeah.
uh,
I love that. I'm totally gonna look that up and look more into that. What other placements do you look at, and in terms of soul purpose, and what are some other key placements that you'd like to share in your chart?
yeah. um Well, so I think just wrapping up, or just about me, there's so then I also have a Capricorn sun, which I think really is that like that business mindset, and really like, okay, like I have a legacy to leave here in the world. That feels very at the forefront of the work that I do, and the energy that I carry is that like I have a big mission and a big like purpose and a big legacy to leave here, and that feels really important. um, and then my moon is in the eighth house in Leo, and it is right next to my north node. So this is getting into like soul purpose. So the north node is the path of your soul's evolution. And then little, like, if you're unfamiliar with what the nodes are, the nodes are, you have the north node and the south node in your chart. And so the nodes are the place where the moon's orbit around, the moon's rotation around the earth intersects with the earth's rotation around the sun. So it's the places where the eclipses occur. And so it's a polarity balancing. So you have your north node and your south node, and your north node is very succinctly said to be the path of your soul's evolution, or maybe even like the sign that you might be next lifetime. And then the south node is I don't want to get like too linearly. It's like it's the most recent past life, or like a past life, but it's it's kind of like where you're coming from. And I think you have to be careful when you're listening to things on the internet about the nodes relative to your purpose, because a lot of the more traditional astrology will say that the south node is where you have been before, and what you should not focus on, and so you should not do, that's where your soul is trying to move away from, and so you shouldn't focus on those things. You should only focus on the things that are for your north node. But I really feel like it's that you have to like that all the sign and the house of your south node are all of the gifts and the talents and the wisdom and the abilities that you brought with you, that you packed into your suitcase for your journey into this lifetime. And so in this life, you actually have to unpack that suitcase. And those are the things that you use to build the bridge over to your soul purpose, to your north node.
Mm.
Um,
That's a really
so
good analogy.
thank
I love
you.
that. Yeah. Yeah. It's a good way of looking at it. I do feel like we need to integrate those lessons and those gifts from our South Node. So you have your South Node in Aquarius and then your
Yes.
North Node in Leo in the eighth
Yeah.
house.
Yeah. So I think that the Aquarian energy is like the whole astrology, like where like astrology is activated for me, like because Aquarius is said to be the sign of astrology. And my teacher even said that it's like the 26th degree is like the exact degree of like the astrologer. And so my south node is at 11 degrees Aquarius, but so it's not in that, it's still in the same sign. And
Yeah.
so I think that like, you know, Aquarian energy is really kind of like innovative thinking, you know, and of course like all of my connection with like extraterrestrial energy, and really like a really strong desire to help humanity, and uplift the collective that's coming from that south node. And then Leo moon in the eighth house is also like, of course, my like playful, like creative energy coming from there, but also in the eighth house, that's, you know, the place of the mystery schools and occultism and everything.
Mm.
And so that feels super activated for me because of the recent Leo full moon as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. That's super exciting. It's so cool to see how it can really, um, you know, all the placements in our chart can really be such great indicators for like what we're um, you know, our soul's desire to do and step into in this lifetime. And it just makes so much sense. So it's cool that you are really, really living your chart.
Oh, thank you. I feel like we all do, you know, in some form or another, you know, and I feel like that the more in tune with ourselves that we become, then we really find that it's like, you know, when we go to, you know, speak with an astrologer, that it's like, wow, this is so much confirmation that like I am so guided and I am on the path. And that's my favorite way. Of course, I like to use astrology for future planning and all of that stuff, but I feel like it's really fun to have a relationship with the planets as spirit guides and asteroids as well. And so, and then you can sense them. You know, it's like this past weekend I was on Instagram and I was, you know, looking at this story from a local shop, and I was like, whoa, like it's so beautiful. Like I feel like I need to go there, and like, whoa. And then I was like, I feel Venus, like she's here, like I feel the presence. And so then I like go look at my chart and I was like, there it is. Okay, there it is. And so in that way, it's like I could choose to go shopping if I wanted to. It wasn't like there was this effect of Venus that was coming into my personality that I wasn't aware of. And then I felt like this, you know, unconscious like need for beautiful things, you know. And then it's like I could choose to do that. I could choose to engage with Venusian energy by going to that store, or by, you know, going and buying some flowers, or by making art, or by, you know, doing something like good self-care practice or something, you know. So it's really that I love astrology for that. It just like confirms the things that we feel and you're like, wow, I am so connected.
Yes, 1000%. And definitely, you know, even lately with full moons, it's just like, I'm like, why do I feel such intense emotion today? And it's always on a full moon. I'm like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense, you know? And so yeah, it is helpful to just know like what the transits are, what's happening, because you know, we are so interconnected and we're connected to nature, you know? So I love that. Maybe if you could share a little bit with, you know, I know that there's so many transits that are happening this year through the house, through the Aquarian mansion, and how that might manifest for the collective.
Well, the thing with Aquarian energy is that it's a wild card. And so it's like the unexpected, you know? So I think that that's a huge piece for us. And it's we've been in that initiation, you know, like of course with everything that happened in 2020, you know, it's just like we're really getting the we're really undergoing the dismantling of our obsession with dependability. Which is really kind of like, I feel like, you know, if you want to talk about like ascension, it is like part of that process is like releasing our grip on the third dimension, you know, where it's like because that, like, the thing about the third dimension is that it's solid, it's stable, it's dependable, you know. It's like you wake up and you expect your bedroom door to be in the same place that it was when you went to sleep. And you know, it's like but we've been under this initiation, like even with your phone, you know, where it's like you haven't used an app in a while and you open it up and you're like, okay, so how do we use this now? It's all had an update and it looks different, and you're like, all right. So I think with all of the Aquarian energy, it really is like becoming more adaptable, you know, becoming, which is a really good word. I was speaking with a friend of mine who's a doctor right before COVID came in last year, and we were talking about the word health. And I was saying that I don't use the word like, oh, this is healthy or this is not healthy, because it's really kind of saying like this is good or this is evil.
Mm.
And we're like, what's a better word for health? And we came up with this word like adaptability. And that it's like being adaptable is truly being healthy.
Mm.
Um, and so I think that that's a huge initiation with all of the Aquarian energy, but also too, it's really that whole shift from the energy of Capricorn, which is like, you know, about like the select few, the 1%, and like the government and everything. And I think a really good example of what Aquarian energy looks like is the whole, and I'm not super into stocks or anything, but my friend who's an astrologer, Evelyn Zuhl, she's super into it. And so she was all like the whole GameStop thing where everybody was like buying all of the stocks and they're flipping the market. And it was really that it was that Wall Street is something that's been controlled by the hedge funds, and that now that was an example of how it could be controlled by the people. And
Mm.
so I think that there is that really like revolutionary energy that is going to really shift things towards the betterment of humanity as a whole, and really uplifting people who've been marginalized. And it's really glad to be alive right now.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's so funny because you use the word adaptability, and I love that word selection. And I feel like it's such a great embodiment for 2021, because I feel like things are moving so much faster, like especially than the previous year. The energy just does feel a little bit quicker. And in numerology, it's a 5 year, which is like all about change and movement. And, you know, we have like, I think it's Uranus squaring Saturn. And that is like the unexpected, like just, you know, being okay with not knowing all the answers, and being adaptable. So I love that.
Yeah. And that's like that's that whole transition from Capricorn to Aquarius is like Saturn rules Capricorn and Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, and the square is a tense energy, so it can feel like, you know, like they're having an argument in the beginning, but ultimately it's like a really stable building block. And one of my favorite authors, Carolyn Casey, talks about the yoking of Saturn and Uranus together creates the disciplined wild person. And that it is that having Saturn square to Uranus, it's just so perfect, you know, that it's like that Uranus will rebel against all of the systems and the oppression and all of the things that Saturn represents, but ultimately that what it's the breakdown to break through. And that when we get on the other side of the tension and we come to the building block place, that Saturn actually works with Uranus to create and build sustainable systems that support the collective and support the environment and uplift everybody. And that it really is such a gift.
I love that you just said that. You know, when I was kind of like had a flashback in my mind as you were talking, and just a reflection at the fact that for myself personally, is the breakdowns have been the most positive and, you know, revolutionary moments in my life. And without those like breakdown moments, we can't really build a new foundation from which to like move forward. So it's like so uncomfortable, so painful, so messy, but yet so needed. So I'd love to hear, like, for you, what have been like some of those like breakdown transformational moments for you that have like led you on this beautiful journey?
Mm, recently or like forever? um well, I think like in this past year, definitely. I mean, like most recently, it was the passing of my dog. You know, so she was almost 17, and so it's the longest relationship of my life, besides my parents, you know, and my family. But a being that you're with every day, you know, and that you have habits with and things, and so that was a huge reset. And I feel like that happened right before the winter solstice. And I feel like this Leo full moon just really, I feel like that kind of brought me out of that.
Mm.
And then it was like a almost a month and a half of, and of course I'm like, you know, still in the space of honoring her. But that was a huge shift. And so I don't know exactly how that is. I feel the energy of the breakthrough on that, but I don't have the words to like say fully what it is yet. Because I feel like I'm in the space of emerging from that. Um, and I think, you know, another breakdown too for me in the past year was, you know, everything that happened with George Floyd and all of the racial justice um, improvements that, you know, are coming into our reality. And so really making sure that the spaces that I hold and facilitate are super safe for the Black community and for people of color and Indigenous peoples. And we've gone through a whole thing where, you know, we used to call our community the Magic Tribe, and then that didn't feel fully aligned. So we changed to the Soul Star Collective. And so just going through and really kind of like fine tuning so many parts of my business and myself, to, and really asking the question, like slowing down and asking the question, is this in integrity? Like, is this able to support me and others at the same time, as opposed to like just supporting me?
Yeah, yeah, I know. It's amazing how things show up in your business that can be like, feel like the biggest roadblocks, like at least for me personally, you know, but it's like when you really look at the gifts of going through some of that, even if it's like for me completely changing the direction of my company, you know, it's like a huge change. But at the same time, you know, that leads to a new place that you never thought you would end up, you know? So I love you sharing that. And with you and your business, one of the things that I think is really cool is that you're like doing all the things, like you're integrating, you know, your free diving and retreats and sound alchemy and astrology. And that's one of the questions that I get a lot is like, oh, how do you like integrate all of the like spirituality into your business? And I remember in the very beginning, I was like, I want to have a spiritual business, but I have no idea how, you know, because I came from like a corporate America path. And so it was like very, had that energy at first. And it took a while to like really integrate and embody what I wish to like bring forward. So just want to ask you a little bit about your journey with that and how you've been able to like cultivate and bring in so much dimensionality into your business.
Thank you. Such a good question. Um, Yeah, it wasn't planned. I think that that's the thing that people think, that like they look at someone who seems to have everything together and they're like, what was their plan? Like, how did they do it? And I was like, I'm like falling over my feet and then just like trying to just like stay on the path, but like, really tripping over my own feet, and then like getting to the place where it was like, whoa, okay, this all does make sense, even though it seems really random. But um and I think a lot of that too, for me, it definitely happened in alignment with my Jupiter return. And that's a thing that happens for us like around 35, where, and so Jupiter takes 12 years to go, spends 1 year in each sign. And when he returns to the place that he was in your birth chart, it's really this moment, if you work it, like my teacher says that, uh, you know, if you don't consciously engage with the Jupiter transit, you could miss it. But
Mm.
like a Saturn transit, Saturn's coming into your house and opening the closet where you're hiding. Like you gotta deal with it. But so I was really blessed to like, run into or meet my teacher around that time. And so at that point, I had really been following more of kind of like the spiritual business kind of like culture of being a spiritual entrepreneur. And so I was like doing like business coaching, and I was working with a coach, and she was like, what are you doing on Instagram? Like, you need to teach people about what you're doing.
Yeah.
And so I had created a class called The Energetics of Instagram. And but it was kind of like I was trying to build my business according to like the rules of what you were supposed to do or what I'd seen other people do. And it really just ended up like all like imploding. And so I found myself in a place where I'd had, this program that didn't work out. And just it felt like a moment of like real failure, and I had a lot of like emotional things in my personal life. And that was when Trump got elected and Standing Rock was happening, and it was just like a lot of like trauma in the field. And uh so it was just like I was a space of complete surrender, just like, okay, like I have no idea, like, what am I going to do? What am I gonna, everything seemed to be collapsing. And so it was just like, I just really just let it all fall. And it was at that time, that was when I had this activation in the ocean. We went snorkeling on the backside of Molokini and had this whole vocal activation happen. And but that was when it was really just kind of like, through sharing my toning with the man who I met, who was a sound healer on island. And then he invited me to do sound healing with him. And it was really just kind of like, I was at a place of like, so surrender. That's why I said tripping over my own feet, because it's like I was still moving forward, but I had like no idea about like where I was going or how it was working. It was like I was overdrawn in my bank account, had no money, and yet people are lending me crystal singing bowls, and I'm going out at sunrise for these epic photo shoots, and I'm just like, what is happening? um and so sound was just so much, that's why I say sound healed me in all of the ways I didn't know that I was broken.
Mm.
And there was a place where I was like, okay, I stopped doing private coaching, and I was just like, I'm just going to focus on sound healing, because that seems to be what has the most traction. The river is running fastest in the stream of sound healing. But it was, like I said, I was like, I really had no idea how it was all going to come together. And then, so I'd been doing all of this sound healing, and then that was like during my Jupiter return. And then I connected with my astrology teacher, and he was like, you just had your Jupiter return. And Jupiter was retrograde at that point. And he was like, there's something you need to go back and there's a big idea that's a conglomeration of a lot of things. And I had this vision for a retreat, which was like, what if everybody could come to Maui and we could do astrology and we could do sound healing and we could like pray to the water and sing with the water and gaze at the stars and swim with the dolphins, even though there aren't very many dolphins here. But it was just like this, I want to do all the things that I like to do, like with everybody. And so at that point I was not ready to facilitate a retreat in person, but I felt like I should move forward with this vision that was coming to me. And so I was like, I've been doing online courses, so what if I did something online? And so that was the birth of the Lemurian School of Remembering. And there's so many parts of the story, where it was like, when I was working with the kahuna, and she was like, you're a Lemurian priestess and you have come here to retrieve your past life memories from this land. You haven't been able to be here for thousands of years, and this is the first lifetime that you're really able to be back here. And so it was just like, I remember being like, and then I was suddenly obsessed with freediving. I was like, what? Freediving, astrology, sound healing, like what? It didn't make any sense to me until, and I mean, I've been working with and knew about Lemuria for years, but it really wasn't until it's almost kind of like it's all around you. Like you can't see the forest for the trees until the one moment you do. And so then it was just like, I was like, wait, astrology, like doing flower essences, doing free diving and sound healing, and all the things that I was into were all Lemurian. And I was like, okay. But I don't think that you have to wait until your Jupiter return, or if you've passed your Jupiter return that you've missed out. I don't think that you have to have some kind of like, past life download that it's like this one word that encapsulates everything. I think it really is that like we just have to give ourselves permission to do what we want to do and to be in that excitement of it and to share it prolifically, and to create experiences. Like a lot of the courses that I create are, I'm like, I want to move through this experience with people as well, because I'm going to learn just as much as anybody, from this experience.
Yeah.
So I think it really is just like, just like letting go of all of those old stories of shoulds and have tos, and this is how someone else is doing it, so, and this is what the productivity people say that you should do. And it's just like, especially in this Aquarian energy, just be yourself.
Totally. Yeah. I want to ask you, during that period when you like reconnected with sound, was that something where you really reconnected with your voice? Like, what did you have a block there with your throat chakra or speaking your truth in any way?
Good question. I feel like so for me, I have been dancing since I was 3 years old. So I was fully available and fine and excited to perform in front of people dancing. But I don't know, like, I don't know if it's like, something from my childhood or something, but it was like, I definitely remember, like, I was like, I'm definitely not doing karaoke. Like, I still haven't, that it was just like, singing in front of people was the most terrifying thing that I could think of.
And are you doing that now?
Yeah. Every time it's, different now because we're not doing things in person. So it was definitely much more regular before. And that's just on me. I have to make a schedule and stick to it. But I mean, like, I remember it wasn't something that I didn't like, like I remember telling my mom, I mean, the things I said to my mom, bless her, but I remember telling my mom, I can't wait. I loved singing in church so much, but I only wanted to do it when everyone else was singing. Like it was something about sharing my voice and being in the spotlight that felt really scary.
Yeah.
And so, but I told my mom, like, I can't wait until I die so that then I can sing with the angels every day.
Wow. Yeah. So it's like this innate desire to like sing and share your voice, and how cool that you're doing that as like a part of, what you're offering to the world, when there was like that maybe like fear or um shyness around that before. I love hearing stories like that, because I feel like it's like you never know how much of a breakthrough that you can have in an area where there is like fear or like limiting beliefs around, like, oh, I can't do that, or for some reason I'm not meant to share my gifts in this way, and it's like, oh no, but actually you are.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, it was like, and I don't know if this is conditioning, like being a woman or whatever, but I definitely had the very intense experiences of really holding back in my relationships and not trusting my partners to be able to accept me for who I was, and really having this sense, and that this is like definitely something, like I think this is that, like, what you want to say, it's a blocked throat chakra or whatever, but it's just like a huge lesson for me, whether it's been in my business or in relationships, has been editing myself,
Mm.
like tetrising myself, shape shifting into who I think that someone wants for me to be, for them to love me. Um, and so that was actually like, I have these tattoos on my arm that says, this is Veritas on my left side, which is truth in Latin. And so that's really like, I want to receive on my left side, right? I want to receive truth. And Latin is like a base language that other languages are built off of. So it's like, I want to receive truth in its original form. And then I want it to pass through my heart and then come into my action hand in my right hand. And I want to express that truth. This says sans peur, which means without fear in French. And but French is beautiful, so I need to express that truth in beauty. And I got these tattoos after I had this like wild relationship, or it was during the building up of this wild relationship, but it was really the place where I was like, okay, I will be myself. Like I will share my truth without fear with this person, because it has been killing me, like it's been suffocating me, strangling me, and so it's just like, like whatever happens, I have to be able to be myself. And so it's a
Yes.
continual reminder.
Yes, that is such a beautiful reminder. I feel like so many of us can relate to that story of like shape shifting, or like, dimming our light, or just, watering it down a little bit. And so what a beautiful reminder. I want to just check, because like it seems like there's a little bit of echo with your microphone, or uh, noise against it. So I don't know if like,
It's right here. I haven't moved it.
okay, I don't know if like something's hitting against it or not, because I feel like,
Um, I mean, like the fan is on, but it's not on very loud. The neighbor is weed whacking and like leaf blowing.
I don't know what.
uh,
Yeah, it's
Can
just
we
like
turn the
it's just a rustling noise that wasn't sure if you were hitting against it somehow, or if it um,
Well, when I showed the tattoos?
like that right now. Yeah, there was just I don't know
This?
that. Yeah, and it was sort of like an ongoing like that. So I don't know if you were hitting against it at that. It's not
I
like
haven't
it.
I
No.
haven't touched it, but I went like this to pull my sleeves down, but nothing is touching the microphone is not, it's just sitting here.
Okay.
But
Sorry.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
I wanted to mention, just because I want to be able to hear you.
For sure. Do you think I need to, what if I unplug it and plug it in? Let me see what happens.
It's just been like the last like 2 or 3 minutes where there's been like a rustling. So I don't know if it was the position or I just wanted to mention because oh,
Is it different now?
now there's a ton of noise.
So bizarre.
Yeah.
I could, I mean, I could just not use it, or I could switch to my AirPods. This with no microphone.
Let me see. Here, can you? Yeah, that might be. Yeah, if you don't mind.
Thank you for saying something. Like sometimes people don't say anything.
I didn't want to interrupt you, but then I was like, oh, I should probably say something because.
Sorry, what was that?
I said I didn't want to interrupt you. And then also it was like, you know, I know that it would be picked up in the show. So I didn't, you know, I just wanted to say something.
Yeah, I think you can still wear these. I appreciate it because I've definitely done a podcast before where it was like not good audio. And then I was like, why didn't the person tell me?
Yeah, I know it's hard because you don't want to like interrupt somebody's flow, especially when it's like such a good conversation, but that's much, much better though. I can hear you much better.
They're not on yet.
There's not a feedback.
Okay.
I don't know. There's not like a rustling noise. So maybe your mic is just super sensitive and it picks up like.
I don't know if I can hear you now.
No, you can't hear me?
Oh, yes. No, I can hear you. Yeah. Okay. So how is this audio?
It's good.
How's that? Good?
Yep, it's good. Yep, much better. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Where were we?
Thank you. Really?
Yeah.
We're talking about the tattoos and like, you know, trying to like, you know, dim your light and
Yeah. Okay, so I mean, speaking of dimming your light, I feel like, so I'm not super into social media, right? And I know it's something that we all, you know, many of us feel a benefit in sharing online. And I think there is so much beauty in doing so. It's just something that I don't think about all the time. And what's funny is that I was listening to an interview of yours when you were sharing about social media and showing up. And I was like, heck yeah. I was like, you know, inspired and like ready to, you know, create all this content and stuff. So that was super cool because I love that you are encouraging people to like really shine and share their lights online. So if anybody, you know, feels similar where they're like, oh, you know, it just seems overwhelming to get started or I don't have the time, what advice do you have?
So good. Well, I feel like that of course that, you know, social media is uh, you know, presented to us in this way that it's like, you know, we're supposed to impress others and that uh you know, that that a lot of people can get really overwhelmed, you know, comparing themselves to others or feeling like it takes a long time to create, you know, stories or posts or whatever. And um to me it's like I feel like my and I feel like my Instagram is like my artist studio, you know. It's like that I really want to that to be my place where I create art, you know. And so it's like an artist doesn't have this idea of like God, I don't want to create. I mean, like they have, you know, they're like, you know, they're not inspired at some points, but you know, they're not like, geez, painting takes so long. I hate painting. Like it's just, you know, but it's like when you just think of it like I'm creating art and just as much time as it would take for me to make just changing your expectations, like, you know, not thinking that a post has to look or be a certain way, or that it should only take you 5 minutes to do, but that it's a work of art, and that it's, you know, a place where you can journal and share and express yourself. And really, that's so much of what people are really looking for, is authenticity. And that's not to say that you can't also share things that you've created that people can pay you for, you know, that it's like that whatever it is that you're excited about, whether it's a course or your dog or, like, you know, an art project that you're working on, it's just like, and it's also really inviting, it's inviting people to be a part of your world. And that it's like, because people feel really so much closer to us when we share our background creative process, you know, so that, like, really it's kind of like the whole like perfection situation is, I just say perfection is the most dangerous place you can be, you know, because it's dangerous for the people who think that you're perfect, because then when they find out that you're not perfect, they're going to be so sad and disappointed. And it's dangerous for you, because then people think that you're all perfect and everything, and then when they find out that you're not, then like they hate you and stuff. And so it's just like, god, let us not be perfect, but let the eyes, like, you know,